they cannot figure you out. And that is precisely the problem, or rather, that is precisely the thing that has become their obsession. Because people who cannot be figured out cannot be filed away, cannot be categorized and stored in a neat, manageable compartment in someone's mind where they stay put and stop demanding attention, cannot be understood well enough to be gotten over. And you, Virgo, have proven absolutely impossible to get over. Not because you are trying to be, not because you are playing a game or constructing a mystery or carefully managing the image you present to keep someone perpetually off balance, but because what you actually are, the full, unedited, completely authentic version of you that shows up in the world every single day, contains a combination that most people have never encountered before and do not have the framework to process. You are sweet, genuinely, disarmingly, almost breathtakingly sweet. The kind of sweet that makes people feel safe, that makes them lower their guard, that makes them lean in and open up and share things they did not plan to share, because something in your warmth creates the specific atmosphere of being genuinely received. And then something shifts. Something in you that was always there, but that your sweetness created a comfortable enough environment for them to forget about, suddenly becomes visible. And what they see when it becomes visible is not meanness, not cruelty, not anything that could be categorized as simply negative. It is power, precision, the specific, surgical, completely clear-eyed quality of someone who sees exactly what is happening around them and is entirely unafraid to name it. Someone whose warmth, it turns out, was never confusion, was never softness in the sense of being without edges, was simply the generous face of someone who is choosing in this moment to be gentle, with full awareness that gentleness is a choice and not an obligation, and that the choice can be revisited. That combination, that specific Virgo, completely unrepeatable combination of genuine sweetness and genuine danger is the thing they cannot stop thinking about. Stay with me, because this reading goes somewhere that I think is going to feel like finally being fully seen. I want to tell you how this message came through, because the way it arrived tells you something important about the nature of what I am delivering today. It came through with energy that had a texture I recognized immediately, the texture of something that is both completely true and slightly uncomfortable for the people it is true about. Because what I am about to walk you through is not simply a flattering portrait of your appeal. It is an honest examination of what you actually are and what that actually does to the people in your orbit. And the honesty of it is what gives it its power. Because you already know this about yourself. On some level, in the quiet, clear, unsentimental space where you assess things without the filter of what you wish were true or what would be more comfortable to believe, you know that you contain multitudes, that the surface of you, the warmth and the care and the genuine attentiveness you offer, is real but not complete, that beneath it there is something else. Something that the people who have underestimated you have encountered, always to their considerable surprise, when they push too far or assume too much or mistook your sweetness for the entirety of what you are. You are not the entirety of what you appear to be on the surface. And someone has recently learned that in a way they will not forget. Let me speak to the sweetness first, because it deserves its own full examination before we move to what lives beneath it. Your sweetness is not performance. That is the first and most important thing to understand about it. It is not a strategy deployed to create a particular impression or to make people comfortable enough to lower their defenses. It is simply the natural expression of who you actually are when you are in a space where you feel safe enough to be fully yourself, when you are with people you love, or in situations that call forth the best of what you carry, when the world is behaving in a way that allows you to engage with it from your most open and generous position. In those moments, what comes from you is something that people genuinely do not encounter often. A warmth that feels specific rather than generic. That makes people feel seen in their particular details rather than acknowledged in a general way. An attentiveness that registers what actually matters to the people around you and responds to it with a care that feels almost startlingly personal. A humor that is gentle and intelligent and never mean. A quality of presence that makes the people fortunate enough to be in your company feel like the space they occupy in your attention is real and valuable and not something you are simply performing for social purposes. This is the sweetness they fall in love with first. This is the version of you that lowers their guard completely, that makes them feel safe in a way they did not expect to feel safe, that makes them think, perhaps for the first time in a long time, that here is someone I can actually trust, someone who is genuinely as warm as they appear, someone who will not surprise me with edges I did not know were there. And then you surprise them with edges they did not know were there. Let me speak to the dangerous part now, because it is the part that came through most vividly in this reading, and it is the part that I think you understand about yourself perhaps better than you let on. The danger in you is not temper, it is not volatility or unpredictability in the chaotic sense. It is something far more precise and in many ways far more unsettling to the people who encounter it. It is clarity, absolute, unsparing, completely unintimidated clarity about what is actually happening in any given situation, about what people are actually doing and why they are actually doing it, about the gap between the story someone is telling and the reality that story is designed to obscure. You see through things, Virgo, with a speed and an accuracy that is almost unfair. You register the subtext beneath the surface. You feel the shift in energy that precedes a change in behavior before the behavior changes. You notice the micro inconsistencies in what people say and do that most people walk right past without registering. And when what you see does not match what you are being told, something in you becomes very, very still. That stillness is the danger, not because it leads to anything destructive, but because it is the specific stillness of someone who has arrived at a complete and clear understanding of a situation and is now deciding from a place of absolute calm what to do with that understanding. And the people who have triggered that stillness in you, who have done the thing or said the thing or been the thing that activated it, can feel it. Even if they cannot name it, even if they do not fully understand what they are sensing, they feel the temperature change. They feel the warmth pull back just slightly. They feel the specific shift in your attention from open to watchful. And something in them knows, something primal and honest in them registers that they have stepped into different territory than they realized they were in. I want to speak to a specific person in your energy right now because I feel them very clearly, and I think their experience of this particular dynamic is at the heart of what this reading is about. This person encountered your sweetness first. Of course they did. Everyone does. Because Your warmth is not something you hide or ration or deploy strategically. It is the natural first face of who you are when you are engaging with someone openly, and they responded to it the way most people respond to it, with an opening, a loosening, a sense of having found something they were not sure they were going to find in another person. They felt safe. They felt seen. They felt, perhaps for the first time in a while, that the connection forming between them and another human being was real rather than performed, and that safety made them comfortable, which is where the mistake began. Because comfort can create assumptions, and assumptions in the presence of a Virgo are almost always going to eventually meet the part of you that does not accommodate them. They assumed the warmth was the whole picture. They assumed the openness was unconditional. They assumed that the specific quality of your generous, attentive, genuinely caring engagement with them meant that the engagement would continue regardless of what they did with it. That the sweetness was a permanent state rather than a natural expression of someone who is paying full attention and responding to what they actually encounter. And then they did something, or said something, or revealed something about themselves through their behavior that your extraordinary perception registered before your more generous instincts had the chance to intercede. And the warmth shifted. Not dramatically, not with announcement or performance or any of the theatrical expressions of displeasure that would have given them something obvious to respond to. It shifted in that quiet, precise, utterly Virgo way that is somehow more unsettling than any dramatic expression could ever be, because quiet precision leaves no room for doubt about whether it is intentional. It was intentional, and they knew it, and they have not been the same since. Does this feel like a dynamic you have navigated recently? Have you felt that specific shift in yourself from open to watchful around someone whose behavior gave you reason to look more carefully? And have you noticed how profoundly that shift affected them? Let me know in the comments, because I feel this is resonating deeply for so many of you right now. Let me go deeper into what the obsession looks like in practice, because the title of this reading uses that word and it deserves to be explored in its full texture. The obsession that this person has developed around you is not simple attraction. Simple attraction has a manageable quality to it. It can be redirected when the circumstances make redirection advisable. It can be reasoned with. It responds to the practical considerations that most mature adults apply to their emotional lives when they are trying to make sensible decisions. What this person has developed around you does not respond to any of that, because what they are obsessed with is not just how you look or how you make them feel or even the specific quality of the connection between you. They are obsessed with understanding you, with solving the specific puzzle of how a person can be both of those things simultaneously, both genuinely, warmly, disarmingly open, and completely, calmly, unassailably self-possessed. Both the sweetness and the danger, both the person who made them feel more seen than they have felt in years, and the person who, with no more than a shift in the quality of their attention, made them feel the specific exposure of someone who has been seen through completely. They cannot reconcile the two. And the inability to reconcile them is what keeps pulling them back, because unresolved puzzles demand attention. And you, to this person, are the most compelling, unresolved puzzle they have ever encountered. They think about you constantly, not always pleasantly, sometimes with a restlessness that is more uncomfortable than the simple warmth of missing someone they care about. Sometimes with that specific frustrated quality of someone who keeps turning a problem over in their mind and cannot find the angle that makes it yield, but always, always with the full force of their attention, which is the only thing they have ever been able to give you completely without negotiation. Inhale. I want to speak to something about this dynamic that I think is important for you to hear from a place of genuine honesty rather than simply celebration. The combination you carry, the sweetness and the precision, the warmth and the clarity, the genuine openness and the absolutely non-negotiable internal standard is one of the most powerful things a person can embody in their relationships with others. It creates a kind of gravitational field that is very difficult to escape once someone has been pulled into it. But I also want to say this: not every person who is obsessed with you deserves your continued engagement. The obsession of someone who has repeatedly failed to meet the standard your clarity holds is not the same as the devotion of someone who has genuinely risen to it. And your extraordinary discernment, the same discernment that produced the shift this person felt so acutely, knows the difference. Even when it is tempting to be moved by the intensity of someone's response to you, regardless of its quality. Let your sweetness be the face you offer to the world, and let your clarity be the standard that determines who gets to remain close to it. Not everyone who is obsessed with you has earned the proximity. Some of them have simply been undone by the encounter with someone who cannot be managed, and being undone by you is not the same as being worthy of you. Your discernment knows which is which. Trust it. Above everything else in this situation, trust it completely. Let me speak now to what the people around this person are witnessing, because the obsession has not stayed private. It has been showing in ways that the people closest to them have been observing and responding to with a mixture of amusement and genuine concern. They bring you up, not always directly, not always with your name or an explicit reference to the situation between you, but in the way that people who are consumed by something bring it up indirectly, in the topics they gravitate toward, in the examples they reach for, in the specific quality of attention they give to certain conversations that mirror something about you or about what exists between you. The people around them have noticed. Some of them have asked directly and received an answer that was more honest than this person intended to be. Some of them have simply observed quietly, registering the pattern without confronting it, storing it as information about where this person's attention actually lives when it is not being managed for public consumption. And what they are all privately acknowledging, whether out loud or not, is that this person has not gotten over you, is not getting over you, is in fact, with the passage of time that is supposed to produce distance and perspective and the comfortable numbness of things that have run their course, becoming more rather than less affected by everything you are. The sweetness they fell for, the danger they encountered, the impossible combination of both that refuses to be categorized or filed away or reasoned into something manageable. You are living in them, Virgo, fully, without their permission, and with absolutely no signs of vacating. As I move toward the close of this reading, I want to speak to what this all means for you, not for them and their obsession, for you and your life and the choices that are in front of you regarding this person and this dynamic. Because you have choices, real ones, and they deserve to be made from the clearest, most grounded, most self-honoring place possible. The first choice is about what you do with the power you have in this dynamic. And you do have power, significant power. The kind that comes from being the person who cannot be fully understood, who cannot be taken for granted, who cannot be assumed to be anything other than exactly what you are in any given moment. That power is real and it is yours and it is not going anywhere. But power in a relationship dynamic, when not accompanied by genuine mutual care and genuine mutual respect, is not the same as a good connection. And your sweetness, the real sweetness, the one that comes from the deepest and most authentic place in you, deserves a space where it does not have to defend itself, where it is not met with behavior that activates your precision as a form of self-protection, where the warmth can simply be what it naturally is without needing the vigilance of your clarity to stand guard over it. The question is whether this person is capable of creating that space, whether what they feel for you, the obsession, the being undone, the inability to categorize or manage or get over you, has the quality of someone who is genuinely growing in their capacity to be worthy of your full warmth, or whether it is simply the fascination of someone who finds you compelling without yet being capable of being truly good for you. Your discernment knows the answer. It has always known. Carry this with you, Virgo, as you move forward through whatever comes next in this situation. You are not too much. You have never been too much. The combination you carry, the genuine warmth and the absolute clarity, the sweetness and the precision, the openness and the impeccable internal standard, is not a contradiction that needs to be resolved, or a paradox that needs to be explained, or a complexity that needs to be simplified for the comfort of people who find complexity inconvenient. It is simply who you are, the full, unedited, completely authentic version of a person who has never learned to be less than what they are, because they have never had any real interest in making themselves smaller for the accommodation of people who were not ready for the full size of them. That is not a flaw. That is the most genuinely powerful thing about you. And the person who is currently unable to think about anything else in the quiet of their own mind is simply the latest in a long line of people who have discovered what happens when they encounter someone who refuses to be what they assumed they were going to be. They got the sweetness, and then they got the clarity, and they have not been the same since. Good, because the ones who stay, the ones who lean in rather than back away when the full picture of who you are becomes visible, the ones who meet your clarity not with resentment or fear, but with a deepening respect and a genuine desire to rise to the standard it sets, those are the ones worth your sustained attention. And this person, in the depths of their obsession, in the restless, unresolvable, won't go away quality of what they feel for you, is showing you something. Whether they are one of the ones worth staying for, that is yours to determine. But whatever you decide, decide it from the center of who you are, from the sweetness and the clarity both, from the full, extraordinary, impossible to categorize combination that has made you completely impossible to forget, because that combination is not going anywhere. And neither, it seems, are they. If this reading touched something true in you today, please share it with a Virgo who needs to feel this energy, and leave me a comment below telling me how this landed. Tell me about the moment someone discovered that your sweetness had a precision underneath it. Tell me how it changed the dynamic between you. I read every single word, every story, every comment. I carry your energy with genuine care long after this video ends. Until next time, Virgo, stay exactly as complicated as you actually are. It is the most magnetic thing about you, and always will be.